You might not hear this opinion anywhere else, and you might even find it liberating to hear this message. There have been some comments under my videos stating this belief that men have more desire than women, that they're more easily tempted, that it's more easy for them to slip, and messages along these lines. There's a popular myth that men are more visual than women. So I thought we should explore this topic together. Allah has spoken about this in the Qur'an, and here in this video we will go through the ins and outs of this topic together and inshallah reach new awareness. So the myth is that men have more desire than women. Men are more visual, they're called visual creatures, more tempted, more prone to slipping. But is that really true? Or is it just something that we've been conditioned to believe? Let's look at what the Qur'an actually says and how modern science is now beginning to catch up to truths that the Qur'an revealed 1,400 years ago. This video is for men, women, boys, girls, for anyone who wants to understand human desire on a deeper, more honest way, in a respectful lens, through both revelation and reason. The Qur'an makes no distinction in desire. The Qur'an never says that men feel desire more strongly. When Allah gives a command to guard modesty, He gives it to both genders equally. He says, tell the believing men to lower their gaze and guard their modesty, and tell the believing women to lower their gaze and guard their modesty. This is in Surah An-Nur, verses 30 to 31, where He asks both men and women equally to lower their gaze and guard their modesty. And in Surah 17, verse 32, He says, do not approach zina. Indeed, it is ever an abomination and is evil as a way. Now, we mentioned zina we talked about zina in a couple of videos previously. So that's why naturally I've been led on to do this topic, because I saw comments underneath those videos where people have said that men have more desire and, comments around this. So I thought, let's look at that. Let's see if that's actually true. These verses show that desire is not just a male issue, but it's a human test. And both men and women are called to protect themselves, not because one's weaker, but because both genders are accountable. If you've absorbed the idea that only men struggle with desire, consider the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. This account is found in the 12th chapter of the Qur'an, Surah Yusuf. So this prophet, Yusuf alayhi salam, he was living in the house of a high-ranking Egyptian official, and that person, that man, is referred to in the Qur'an as the Aziz. The Aziz's wife, who held a position of authority and privilege, became infatuated with Yusuf's beauty and noble character. This challenges a widely accepted claim that men are more visual, or that they're visual creatures. The Qur'an says, and she in whose house he was sought to seduce him. She closed the doors and said, come to me. This is in the Qur'an, Surah 12, verse 23. Because here it's a woman, not a man, who's captivated by what she sees. So she was captivated by Yusuf's beauty. And this isn't the only time, by the way, that such an example has been given, because later on in the surah, other women in the city mocked her for falling for Yusuf. So she arranged for them to see him too, and to see how they react. So when they saw him, they greatly admired him, and they cut their hands. They said, good God, this is not a man, this is none other than a noble angel. And this is in Surah 12, verse 31. So what she did is she set them up with fruit. She set all these ladies up with fruit and knives to cut the fruit. And they literally injured themselves from the shock of how beautiful Yusuf was. That they were so stunned by his beauty. So what does that tell you? That women are visual creatures too. This scene flips the stereotype. It's not just men who are visual. Women also respond to physical beauty, attraction, and awe. The Qur'an said it openly long before modern psychology even asked the question. Despite the immense pressure and temptation, Yusuf alayhi salam turned to Allah. He cited his loyalty to her husband, who treated him well, and his fear of committing a wrong. He said, "I seek refuge in Allah. Indeed, He is my master. He has made good my stay. Indeed, wrongdoers will never succeed." And this is in Surah 12, verse 23. But she tried again. And then he ran. He ran away from her. Her desire only intensified when he said no. The situation escalated to a final decisive moment. She made a bold move towards him. She tried to grab him. And he escaped. He tried to escape, so he ran for the door. And they both raced to the door, and she tore his shirt from the back. That's how it's described in the Qur'an, in Surah 12, verse 25. At that very moment, they encountered her husband. She accused Yusuf al-Islam, of course, to cover herself up. But a witness in the household said, if his shirt is torn from the front, then she has told the truth and he is of the liars. However, if the shirt's torn from the back, then she has lied and he is of the truthful. Because, of course, if you're going to grab somebody, and then of course the shirt would be torn from the back, because you're grabbing them while they're running away from you, and you're grabbing the back of that shirt of the person who's running in front of you. When the Aziz saw that the shirt was torn from the back, he knew Yusuf was innocent. This was not symbolic. It was a real moment of temptation, and it came from a woman. And she wasn't single either. She was married. This matters because it proves that marriage alone does not stop someone from falling into zina. What stops it is discipline, loyalty, taqwa, self-mastery. And in this story, it was a man, Yusuf, who'd had that. Today's psychologists and neuroscientists are just beginning to understand how human desire works. They run brain scans, they publish hormone studies, and now they're saying, actually, women feel desire too. Actually, gender roles shape how we interpret it. Actually, in more equal societies, women report more desire. But the Qur'an said it openly over 1,400 years ago. Not with research papers, but with truth, wisdom, and a direct, unfiltered story about a woman with an intense desire. It didn't hide it. It didn't sugarcoat it. It showed a married woman in power, driven by visual and emotional temptation, and a man resisting it with strength, clarity, and taqwa. No filters, no excuses, just honesty. Because the Qur'an treats both men and women as moral beings, fully capable of choosing right or wrong. The Qur'an empowers you, makes you believe and understand that you are in control of yourself, of your actions, of everything that you do, every step that you take, every intention that you have. You are in control of your intentions and your actions. Here's what science is starting to say. Recent research, paraphrased respectfully, in more egalitarian societies, women report higher desire and the gender gap narrows. That's in a study referenced there. When respect flows both ways, women feel more emotionally connected, and that affects desire. Women in such environments feel more free to acknowledge their desires instead of suppressing them. Some researchers propose that women's feelings are more context-based. Others argue rightly that there simply hasn't been enough fair research yet. But what we know is this: many women feel desire strongly, regardless of emotional closeness, just like many men. It's not about gender, it's about being human. In many cultures, girls are taught to stay quiet. That purity means silence, that they should never speak of what they feel. But silence doesn't mean that nothing is there. It just means many women have never had the space to explore these feelings honestly. Allah rewards those who feel desire, understand it, and rise above it. I'm actually hoping that this video will also help many married couples as well to understand this. When desire is repressed, it doesn't disappear, it festers, but when it's acknowledged and redirected, it becomes strength. So why does this matter? If we keep promoting the myth that only men are visual, that only men are tempted, only men are weak, we leave women unprepared for their own tests. We excuse men for bad behavior. We shame both for natural feelings that Allah has already warned us about. And we also allow society to mock those who try to stay pure. Men who guard themselves get called simps. Women who remain innocent get mocked for being immature. They get told to grow up. They're told they're not adults until they've experienced physical intimacy. But Allah says, "And when you see those who engage in offensive talk about our signs, turn away from them until they change the subject." That's in Surah Al-An'am 6:68. So those people who make such comments are likely to mock religion in other ways. So Allah says, keep away from them, keep away from the bad influence. Because peer pressure is real. Even psychology shows this. The famous Asch conformity experiment proved how easily people change their behavior just to fit in with the group, even when they know that it's wrong. So don't sit with people who make fun of your beliefs. Don't let mockery make you question your path. Notice this, and this is really critical point here. The Qur'an gives us a vivid story of a woman trying to seduce a man. Nowhere in the Qur'an is there a story of a man trying to seduce a woman. Not even once. That's not to say that it's not happened in history, but it tells us something. It tells us that the Qur'an is drawing attention to a deeper truth. For those who think, for those who use their intellect, for those who ponder, they will understand that desire is not gendered, it's universal, and both women and men must guard themselves. There's a global example that proves this. In the famous Coldplay scandal that happened recently, both people involved were married, yet they had an affair that was caught on camera. So this shows that even marriage doesn't guarantee protection from falling into zina. If anything, it proves that discipline matters more than status. What saves you is your character, not your contract. The Qur'an shows us that desire can be intense, real, even overwhelming, but it can be mastered. Desire is not shameful, but it must be honored, it must be controlled and redirected. You're not wrong for feeling desire, that's natural, but you are responsible for what you do with it. Men are not animals, and women are not saints. We are all human, and we are all called to rise. That is why I choose role models who have light, and those who came to Islam with a hunger for the truth. Those are the people who I am inspired by. Let that hunger live in you. Let your discipline be beautiful. Let your dignity be a light. Because the Qur'an doesn't say that you're weak. It says that you're capable. And it calls you, male or female, to walk with strength and clarity. See how Allah used an example of a woman seducing a man, and not a man seducing a woman. And not just that, she was drawn by his beauty. So this example in the Qur'an, which is the only example of seduction, by the way, so there's no examples of men chasing women. This example tells us everything we need to know. And so please, if you're watching this, stop using the excuse that you have way more desire than women. So, you just can't control yourself. And this is what you have to succumb to, this practice of zina. No, you don't. There are no excuses for zina. There is no justification for it. So please read the Qur'an and understand it. Think about the verses, ponder on them, and try to understand them so that you understand the message, and it will affect how you behave and how you think. You'll be less affected by the messages that you're getting from other cultures or from society or even from your own culture. You'll be less affected by that because you'll be able to discern and know what's true and what's not true. So I really hope that this video helps. I had to record it a few times. I really hope that it's coming across okay this time round, but I know that there was a bit of noise from the fan of my laptop, so apologies for that. I realized a bit too late that that's happening, so sorry that there's a background noise during it. And I really hope that you found this video helpful, and if you did, then please do like, subscribe and share this video with others who may also find it helpful. And also drop a comment below. I always like to hear different opinions and thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours too. So feel free to drop a comment, keep it respectful, and inshallah I'll see you in the next video. Take care.